Hello, everyone. It's MegaChamp again. And here we are, everyone. The end, sort of my personal end of the year lists. My personal anime of the year 2023 has ended. Go watch that if you haven't. I'm not gonna spoil who won. And now it's time for my personal game of the year to end for 2023. So this is it. The special awards, my personal special awards have been given for my personal game of the year 2023. So this is my final list, my final three, really my final four. The best games that I personally played in 2023. As always, these opinions are mine and mine alone. They're only my personal opinion. You can have your opinion. Everyone can have their own opinion. That's the point of opinions. Everyone's is different. So this is just my own personal opinion and my own personal list, so you can come up with your own personal lists of what games you felt were the best that you played this year. This is just mine. As always, as I've said previously, with part one and also my anime of the year, my personal anime of the year 2023. When it comes to my personal game of the year 2023, I go by the games that I played this year. Luckily, this list isn't as long as my anime list, so as a quick recap, the games that I played this year in 2023 were Tales of Xillia for PS3, Tales of Xillia 2 for PS3, Persona 5 Strikers for PS4, Balan Wonderworld for PS4, which was dropped, Nier Replicant for PS4, Biomutant for PS5, Ori and the Will of the Wisps for Nintendo Switch, Astro's Playroom for PS5, Sackboy: A Big Adventure for PS5, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart for PS5, Neo: The World Ends With You for PS4, The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles for PS4, and Sonic Colors Ultimate for PS4, which is still ongoing. I know I finished The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles and now I'm playing another game, but I can tell you right now, the completion of The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles did not change this final list in any way whatsoever. I'm sorry, it just didn't. Big rip. Big oof. But those are just my personal games that I played this year. I'm still around 2 years behind. I mean, if I can actually play my games instead of being distracted by other people's YouTube content, then maybe I can get through Sonic Colors and maybe Life is Strange True Colors, but no promises and no guarantees and holidays and all that fun stuff. So it's easier said than done, but the point is, this is my own personal list and my final list for my personal game of the year 2023. Let's not stall any longer because, well, that seems to be what I do a lot, and I don't do it on purpose, although sometimes I do. It may seem like I do it on purpose, but I don't. So again, this is just my own personal game of the year 2023. The final list, the final three, the final four. Just like with my personal anime of the year 2023, there's a de facto number 4, in other words, an overall special mention. So, Mega's personal game of the year 2023, overall special mention, de facto number 4, goes to Tales of Xillia for PlayStation 3. Yeah, this is probably the most unique Tales of game of all of the games I've played, and that does include Tales of the Abyss, which won my personal game of the year last year. And the reason why this game is so unique is that you can choose either Jude or Milia as your main character, and and that's who you play as for the entire game, and you get to see different things with each different character during different parts of the game. So basically, it's kind of like a completely different story. Obviously, there are still similarities and converging points, but there are diverging points through in multiple instances in Tales of Xillia. So it's definitely the most unique Tales of game I've played, and really the only Tales of game that I've actually seen do something like this. I haven't seen it done since then. I'm sure there are other games where you can choose a character to play as and it's kind of different for the whole game. But this is definitely the most unique Tales of game that I've played, and it's definitely the most fun. I will admit that much. I mean, I don't know if it matches up to Tales of Graces with how great that gameplay and that combat was, but it gets pretty goddamn close. I'll say that much. Really great, really fun, really similar, and the story is really great too. There's a lot of criticism you can throw at the sequel, Tales of Xillia 2, as it's warranted, as we saw what I did during that almost 1 hour video that I did, but this is definitely a great experience overall from start to end. It does get kind of shaky at times, as all games will, and there are sort of ups and downs, as all games have. But for the most part, this is an overall great experience with great characters, great gameplay, just great overall, really, and there's not really much else and really nothing else to say about it, if I'm to be brutally honest. Jude is definitely one of the more unique main characters because he's a martial arts character, and Tales of games tend to have main characters that, use a sword or use a knife or stuff like that, mostly swords. So the fact that there was a Tales of game that had a main character that was mostly, using his fists or martial arts or however you want to put it is definitely one of the most or one of the more unique main characters of this game and of this franchise, and the combination attacks are great. Honestly, the entire game is just great. I can't praise it more, and it definitely deserved to be in my final list, and definitely deserved at least my overall special mention, de facto number 4. Yes, it's a really old game. I mean, it's on the PlayStation 3, of course. It's a really old game. Unless they do like a remaster or a port, which I do think they should do, but it's starting to seem unlikely, but if you want to wait for them to maybe eventually put out a port, I don't necessarily blame you, but I don't know, it's just seeming increasingly unlikely, and there was a lot of criticism on that Tales of Symphonia port, which didn't even have Dawn of the New World. I get that Bandai Namco wants to pretend that game doesn't exist because everyone or most people don't like it, but that's why I didn't get the port, was because it didn't have Dawn of the New World. I just kept my PlayStation 3 version. Unless they want to put out a port for that, which again seems extremely unlikely right now. So if you want to wait for a port, that's understandable, and I don't blame you. I don't know. That's all I can really say about that. I don't know. So you might want to think about getting the PlayStation 3 version if you still have a PlayStation 3. That's all I'm saying. But you can just make your own decisions at the end of the day. But this is definitely the best Tales of game I played this year, although there was really only 2 that I played, this and the sequel, Xillia 2, even though Arise is coming up quickly in my backlog, and since I'm playing 2 games that are relatively short, Sonic Colors and Life is Strange True Colors, I might get to it before the end of the year, but there's only a couple of weeks left, so I kind of doubt it, but unless I somehow speed through my games, which again is unlikely, but the point is, this is definitely the better of the Xillias. Big rip. And one of the better games that I played this year, so it definitely deserved overall special mention and de facto number 4. That's all I have to say about it. Just a great game. The rest of these games you have seen before. Two of them were got a special award, but just because they got a special award doesn't mean they're not going to be in my final overall list. That happened last year, and honestly, unfortunately, there wasn't really a lot of games that stood out this year for me personally, unfortunately. Last year was really great and stood out amazingly with the fact that I played Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Tales of the Abyss. So this wasn't as good as a gaming year for me personally as it was last year, but so there wasn't really a lot of standout games where if I give something a special award, it doesn't end up in my final list. Although that's kind of never been what I've done, but I'm just kind of warning you now that these next two you have seen before. So because of that, there's not really much I'm gonna say. You can go back to previous videos or go watch my full thoughts videos if you want my true full thoughts on these games. But again, that's up to you. So, we're to the true list here, the real list, the quote-unquote real list, if you want to call it that, I suppose. So, the third best game that I personally played this year, number 3, it's Sackboy: A Big Adventure. Did you really think it would be anything else? I told you, what did I say? I said Sackboy was gonna get something that you can make the argument is better than Mascot of the Year. This is that. My third best game that I played this year. That's, well, if you ask me, that's an upgrade over Mascot of the Year, but I suppose that's subjective at the end of the day. People really need to stop underestimating this game, and the amount of disrespect this game is still getting that I see almost daily is honestly ridiculous. You can't really say that this game is crap unless you actually play it and feel that way. If you play the game and you don't like it, okay, that's fine, and I understand that. But if you just want to look at this game it's crap, no, you need to try it and play it. It is unbelievably amazing, unbelievably fun. The music is amazing, and it's just a great experience. And it's also really challenging, especially from the fourth world onward, maybe even before then, starting in World 3 onward. So around World 3 or World 4, it actually does get pretty challenging because I tried it myself and I played it myself. This game is great and I don't care what anyone else says. That's it. That end of story. There's nothing else for me to really say about that. I'm just really getting sick of seeing a lot of people, or seemingly a lot of people, act like this game is shit. Try actually playing it yourself first before you just go hey, this is a shit game. Have you played it? No? Shut up. Whatever. Opinions, I tell ya. And yeah, I'm the one who gets crapped on seemingly a lot for having an opinion. But whatever, the point is, this is the third best game that I played this year. It's unbelievably great. The story is meh, as I have said several times prior. That's why it's only number 3 and not higher. But the gameplay is what matters here. And just, playing it in general, the music, everything else makes up for it. So I don't care if the story is bad. Yes, you could make that argument, but the gameplay and everything else makes up for it in strides. So I don't really care. This is an unbelievably great game, and it's just sad and ridiculous that this franchise, the Little Big Planet and Sackboy, is more than likely dead from all those leaks that we saw recently, and that's all I'm going to say about that. It's ridiculous. Sony has something amazing right under their noses as a replacement for their inevitable loss of Crash and Spyro, for them going Xbox exclusive inevitably. Having a hard time talking, sorry, but since they're going to lose those inevitably, if you ask me, to Xbox for them to be exclusive to Xbox, they have this and Astrobot literally right under their noses, and they won't put their support behind it. It's sad and it's ridiculous. Big fat L. They've been taking a lot of those recently, but I guess it is what it is. As we all know, complaining gets me nowhere, because business is going to business. But it's my third best game of this year. Take that, I guess, or whatever. And no, I didn't do this because of that. This was legitimately the third best game I played this year. Play the damn game yourself. I vastly underestimated it, and look what happened. I am speaking from experience here. But whatever. Do whatever you want at the end of the day. As far as I'm concerned, it's the third best game I played this year. So we're now down to the final two. My personal Game of the Year runner-up and my personal Game of the Year. Like I said previously, there wasn't a lot of games that stood out this year, unlike last year with Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Tales of the Abyss. And both of these games are Square Enix games. I'm going to tell you that right now. So you probably already figured it out, but I'm going to keep going anyway. Is it a little biased? Yeah, sure, maybe, but because it seems like, and really is the case, that I play at least one Square Enix game every year, if not more than that. So this is a vastly Square Enix dominated year for me for my personal lists, but they seem to at least always be in my final personal lists for Game of the Year, because they do actually put out good games. I'm not going to act like they don't put out crap games. Balan Wonderworld and Forspoken, that second game I'm never going to play because I was never interested in the first place, so I'm not sitting here acting like they don't put out crap games, but they do put out good games too, so you can't act like all they do is put out crap games. This stuff with their NFT obsession is also completely different. There's a lot of various things going on with Square Enix, but for me personally, I played a lot of good Square Enix games, and they're my final two. I'm sorry. So you will have literally no surprise when my personal Game of the Year runner-up, the second best game that I personally played this year. Again, did you expect it to be anything else but The World Ends With You 2? Neo, The World Ends With You. Look, I can bash their dumb Splatoon parts all I want, and I will continue to do so. I'm sorry, because it broke the pacing constantly and was utterly ridiculous, and there was literally no point in doing it, and I would like to strangle whoever thought it was a good idea, but the final week made up for it. Week 3 made up for it in strides. Banger after banger after banger after banger. That also applies for the goddamn amazing soundtrack, which again I still wish I could play for you. It's so goddamn good. Go listen to it on YouTube. So goddamn good. I've already mentioned numerous themes, so I'm not going to mention that before. Go watch my special awards for the themes you should go listen to right now, instead of listen to me babble on and on. But this is the second best game I played this year, because the game was actually really good. Really great character development for most of the characters. You don't need to develop characters from the prior game. That was done in the first game. It was really great. It really was. It started off slow, then got rocky because of all the dumb Splatoon stuff, and then the final week was just unbelievably amazing. So good, so great, made up for it, but I just couldn't sit there and act like the dumb Splatoon stuff didn't exist. That's why it's number 2. And I'm not going to lie to you, because I just admitted it. That is why it didn't win my personal Game of the Year. Because of the dumb Splatoon stuff. Otherwise, it would have won. This is an amazing game. The marketing for the game is shit. We're not going to get a The World Ends With You 3, but as I said in my Full Thoughts video, I don't need it. I'm glad with a sequel. That's all I really needed. That's all I really wanted. It was something I thought was nothing but a pipe dream. So that's it. There's nothing else to really say. I am fully satisfied. If it's in Kingdom Hearts 4 or something like that, that's just icing on the cake for me. Which I would definitely love, but I'm also not expecting, so I don't really necessarily need it in Kingdom Hearts 4 either, but I'm just saying. The point is, I'm satisfied. This is all I really needed, and that's it. It was the second best game I played this year. If they had done a little bit better without the dumb Splatoon stuff, then there would have been a conversation we could have had about it potentially being the best game that I played this year. But because that wasn't the case, it gets my personal Game of the Year runner-up. But the second best game that I played this year is still pretty goddamn great. It's unfortunate that this franchise is over, don't get me wrong. And it's unfortunate we're probably never going to see this franchise ever again. But it is what it is, and like I said, I don't necessarily need any more games. I am satisfied with this. There's nothing else for me to say. Great, great, and more great. Is it a little biased? Yeah, maybe you could make that argument. But have you played the game yourself? There we go again. So there you go. Of course, since I just said that 2 Square Enix games were the best games that I personally played this year, this makes you question, well, what is the best game that you played this year, Mega? And you can kind of read it right here if you squint and actually go really close to the screen. But I couldn't really find a image that didn't really have that hit it, basically, but it is what it is. This makes you question what my best game that I personally played this year. So, the best game that I played this year, well, I suppose there's really no need in hiding it if you can actually read that. My personal Game of the Year 2023, the best game that I played this year, Nier Replicant. Nier Replicant. Version 1.22474487139. Yes, I just read all those numbers. The PlayStation 4 remake of the PlayStation 3 version. This game is fantastic from start to end. Did me going for the platinum ruin the experience? Yes, it did. I'm not going to lie to you. It did. It really did. It was twice as grindy, really more than that, than the Nier Automata platinum. But when you take all of that away, the experience is great from start to end. All of the endings are great, especially ending E. Well, of course, ending E is great. What were you expecting? It's Nier. And that kind of just shows you that Nier is great. It really is. I don't know how long I have to wait for another game. Some things have been said recently, but it's clearly not going to be anytime soon, which sucks. But I am willing to wait, especially since, I kind of don't have a choice. Nobody does, but it's going to be worth the wait, as it normally is, and as it always is, because Yoko Taro is great. He's a little bit of a troll, but it kind of makes you like him even more. I mean, Tetsuya Nomura is a little bit of a troll, too. That's why his nickname is Trollmura sometimes, but I'm sorry, but there was just nothing else that stood out for me this year. Like I said, not a great year for me for the games that I played compared to last year, and this was the one that stood out the most for me. It was great from start to end. A bit rocky in a couple of places, but once you get past kind of like part 1, when the main character becomes older, good God, man, good God. So good, so great, especially at the end. And again, ending E is also great. Just great. I can't I wish there was something else I could say other than great, because now I feel like I'm saying that too many times and I feel like a broken record. I just don't know what else to say. It is unbelievably amazing. Great gameplay, great story, great music. Of course, it's great music. I had to choose between this and Neo The World Ends With You for Soundtrack of the Year, and I can tell you it was a hard choice, although it really wasn't, but this soundtrack is also really goddamn amazing, especially when you do the stuff in the book. Good God! Who would have thought Nier music would go that hard? Good God, man. Good God. So good, so great. I can't praise this game more. It was the game that stood out the most, for me personally. Yes, the experience was kind of ruined when I had to do the grinding for the platinum, but that at the end of the day, when you take all that crap out, it's an overall great experience, and there's nothing else for me to really say. I love this franchise. I'm glad I heard about this franchise and got into this franchise. Automata won my personal game of the year a couple of years ago, and now Replicant gets it too, because there was nothing else that stood out. I'm sorry. But the franchise is great. They keep putting out great games. Keep up the great work. Hopefully Square won't ruin things. And Yoko Taro, take your time, do whatever you want, just make another great game. That's it. There's nothing else to really say. A great experience. And I don't care that the main character was replaced. It did not make a difference to me. I'm sorry. It just didn't. It made no difference whatsoever. That original character does still make an appearance. Just so you are aware. Just so you know. So it's not like that character isn't in the game at all. It's just an overall great experience. I wish there was something else I could say. You have to play it for yourself. You don't necessarily have to play Automata first. It might actually be better to play this game first because Automata technically takes place after this game, but it's up to you at the end of the day. I played Automata first, but it's up to you. But great, amazing, can't praise it more. I love me some Vice, great character dynamic, weirdest and best group and weirdest trio of characters to make up a party ever, but it worked so great and I love it. I wish, I just don't know what else to say. I really do. It's just so goddamn good. So goddamn good. You just gotta be very persistent if you go for the platinum like I did, and it will probably ruin your experience with how grindy it is, because that's what happened to me. So you don't necessarily have to go for the platinum, but now I have platinums for 2 Nier games. We'll see what happens if or when the 3rd game ever happens, but I'm not worried about that right now. So, there you go. Congratulations, Nier Replicant. You are my personal game of the year for 2023, because nothing else stood out. I'm sorry. And it's a great game, so there was really no other choice and really nothing else to give it to. So, yeah, there you go. There is my personal list, my final list for my personal game of the year for 2023. Quick recap. Overall special mention, de facto number 4, is Tales of Xillia for PlayStation 4. The 3rd best game that I played this year is Sackboy: A Big Adventure, PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. May also be on PC. My personal game of the year runner-up for 2023, the 2nd best game that I played this year, Neo: The World Ends With You for PlayStation 4. Or The World Ends With You 2, whatever you want to call it. And my personal game of the year for 2023, the best game that I played this year is Nier Replicant for PlayStation 4. So there you go. It's just my own personal list. Like I said for my anime of the year, make your own list. That's what you do. You make your own list. It's just my own personal list. So there you go. My end of the year stuff is now over. This upcoming weekend, Christmas Eve weekend, if you want to call it that, I guess, I will do and I will be recording and releasing, once it's uploaded, of course, my most anticipated for 2024. So you won't have to see this anymore. Yay? I don't know. So you'll see 2024 instead, because I'm going to be talking about my most anticipated for 2024, my most anticipated anime and other animes I'm looking forward to, my most anticipated game and other games I'm looking forward to, and my most anticipated game that I will actually play, and other games that I'm looking forward to that I will actually play. So that's what's next. And then, of course, the final one after Christmas is over will be, of course, my bold predictions for 2024. So until then, that's all I got for you. Congratulations, Nier Replicant. You are my personal game of the year for 2023. This is MegaChamp saying next time I'll be providing you with more unlimited guidance. Bye!